But today, it could be worth over $1 million. Imagine holding something so ordinary in your hand, and realizing it has the power to change a life forever. Most people see it every day, yet very few understand its secret. The 1960 D Mint Mark Lincoln penny looks like a simple copper coin, until you know what to look for. Collectors were shocked when one of these pennies sold for a jaw-dropping $1.6 million. A simple Lincoln cent, minted decades ago, hiding a secret that the world almost forgot. How did it get here? And why is it so valuable now? The answer is hidden in the tiniest details, almost invisible to the untrained eye. It starts with a tiny imperfection, a minting error so subtle that most people miss it. A misalignment, a doubled die, or even a misplaced mint mark can turn a coin worth a few cents into a collector's gold mine. But not every 1960 D penny is worth millions. In fact, the vast majority are completely ordinary. The trick is knowing what makes the extraordinary ones stand out. The story of this penny is one of mystery and luck. Decades ago, these coins were minted in Denver, carefully pressed, stamped, and released into circulation. Millions were made. Most were spent, lost, or stored away, forgotten in jars, drawers, and piggy banks. But a very few escaped into the hands of collectors who knew exactly what to look for. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. He didn't even know what he had at first. He picked up the penny, examined it, and noticed something unusual. The mint mark was slightly off. The lines on Lincoln's face seemed sharper, almost different. Something was telling him this wasn't just any penny, but what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Experts confirmed that this tiny detail, almost invisible to the average eye, was a rare minting error. This single imperfection made the coin one of the most sought-after pennies in modern collecting. Dealers and collectors were rushing to get their hands on similar coins, but only a handful exist in top condition. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. The mint mark, the spacing, the alignment, the subtle doubling, these are the fingerprints of a coin that could make you rich. And the thrill doesn't stop there. Every auction brings a new twist. Last year, a single 1960 D Lincoln penny with near-perfect condition went under the hammer for $1.6 million, and the room was silent as the winning bid was announced. The excitement, the disbelief, the sheer magnitude of the moment, it's something every coin collector dreams of. Collectors are still searching. Dealers are scanning stacks of pennies, jars, and drawers. And there's a good chance this exact penny could be hiding in your own home. That old tin on your shelf, the change in your car, the coin you almost tossed into the vending machine, one of these could hold the life-changing secret. It's not just about the money. There's a story behind every rare penny. Each one carries history, mystery, and a piece of the minting legacy that few get to witness. Imagine the hands that struck this coin, the people who used it decades ago, and the journey it has taken to reach your eyes today. The 1960 D penny isn't just copper and zinc, it's a story frozen in time, waiting for the right collector to uncover it, but spotting it requires skill. First, check the mint mark, the letter D for Denver, and examine it closely. Look for any doubling or irregularities in its placement. Next, study Lincoln's profile, especially his jawline and the lines of his coat. Some of these pennies have subtle differences that dramatically increase their value. Finally, the edges. A crisp, sharp rim is a sign of high-grade coins, and that's what drives collectors to pay millions. Most people dismiss pennies without a second thought. Yet in the world of coin collecting, one small detail can make all the difference. A jar of pennies in your kitchen could hold the key to a fortune, waiting for the moment it's finally recognized. Every auction, every sale, every expert appraisal confirms it. This is a penny worth millions, literally. Dealers warn against common mistakes. Don't assume that every shiny 1960 D penny is rare. Look for imperfections that are specific and verifiable. Avoid coins with cleaning marks, scratches, or corrosion. These reduce value dramatically. And most importantly, trust your instincts. When something feels unique, it probably is. One collector shared a story that still gives shivers to coin enthusiasts. He found a 1960 D penny in a pile of loose change at a garage sale. At first, he thought it was just another coin. But after a careful inspection and verification by a professional grader, it turned out to be a near-mint example, one of the few that could fetch over $1 million. That one lucky discovery changed his life forever, and it could happen to you. Whether it's a jar of coins in the attic, a handful of pennies in your car, or change from a recent trip to the store, the right coin can turn ordinary pocket change into a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. Remember, the key details are small but crucial: the Denver Mint mark, the alignment, the subtle doubling, and the crisp, sharp features on Lincoln's profile. Master these, and you'll be one step closer to recognizing a coin that could be worth millions. Collectors are always chasing these elusive pennies. Auctions become battlegrounds, and whispers of rare discoveries spread like wildfire. One perfect 1960 Lincoln penny can inspire jealousy, awe, and ambition across the collector community. People will stop at nothing to find one, and that's the thrill, knowing that each coin has a story and a potential fortune hidden inside it.so. Check your pockets, your drawers, your coin jars. Examine each penny carefully. Don't overlook the ordinary. In this world, it's the coins that appear ordinary that often hide extraordinary secrets. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. The story isn't over. Each time one of these pennies changes hands, a new chapter begins. And with millions of collectors worldwide, the hunt continues. Who will be the next lucky soul to uncover a life-changing 1960 Lincoln penny? Could it be you? Keep looking, because one tiny detail can transform history into fortune, and your ordinary coin could be the next $1 million miracle. But sold for nearly $1 million. Imagine holding a tiny piece of metal that could turn your life upside down in an instant. That's exactly what happened with one special 1984 no-mint mark Lincoln penny. On the surface, it looks like every other penny in your pocket. But hidden within its design is a secret so rare that collectors and dealers are chasing it across the country, and some have paid up to $1 million to own one. It all started in the quiet corners of everyday life: pockets, drawers, and coin jars that no one thought twice about. One man discovered this coin while counting change he had saved for years. To the untrained eye, it was just another penny. But to the trained eye of a numismatist, this coin held the kind of hidden flaw that turns ordinary pocket change into unimaginable wealth. What makes this penny so valuable is a minting error so subtle, most people overlook it entirely. It's called a no-mint mark anomaly, meaning the usual D or S that indicates where it was minted is missing. That tiny absence has propelled some of these pennies to auction prices reaching nearly $1 million. But the story gets even stranger. When the coin surfaced in auctions, collectors were shocked. Some didn't believe it was real. Dealers rushed to authenticate it, examining every line, every contour, every hint of the missing mint mark. One auction saw bidding skyrocket within seconds, and by the end, the penny had changed hands for a figure that made headlines in the numismatic world. People who had dismissed similar pennies as worthless were left stunned, because what they held in their hands could have been their ticket to $1 million. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. More discoveries began to surface. People found these rare pennies in the most unlikely places. A retired schoolteacher found one under the sofa cushions, a mechanic in a jar of old coins, a teenager in a forgotten piggy bank. Each time, the discovery made national news. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle, and it all revolved around this single, unassuming coin. Collectors started to realize that this wasn't just a lucky find, it was a ticking treasure waiting to be discovered by anyone. Dealers warned that these coins are so rare that even finding one in your pocket change is like striking gold. They advised everyone to check old rolls of pennies, donations, and even coins collected from vending machines. The race was on, and every coin collector wanted in. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. The missing mint mark isn't just a small flaw, it's the fingerprint of rarity. A penny without a mint mark from 1984 signals a production anomaly, a mistake the U.S. Mint almost never allowed to enter circulation. And yet some did. Just a few. And those few are worth fortunes. Imagine the thrill of holding one. feeling its weight, noticing its unique imperfections, knowing that what seems ordinary to everyone else is extraordinary to you. That emotional connection is what drives collectors to pay staggering sums. It's not just metal, it's history, mystery, and the possibility of instant wealth wrapped up in a coin no larger than your thumb. But it gets even better. In some rare cases, these pennies exhibit secondary anomalies: a doubled die, slight off-center strikes, faint die cracks. Each tiny flaw can add thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars to the coin's value. Dealers now have a checklist: confirm no mint mark, examine for die errors, ensure the coin is in pristine condition. Missing even one step could mean missing out on $1 million opportunity. Imagine the auction room, packed with tense collectors. A coin like this comes up, and the bidding starts low. Seconds feel like hours. Hands fly in the air. Hearts pound. The hammer falls. The winner walks away with a piece of history, a story, and yes, potentially $1 million treasure. Meanwhile, others are left kicking themselves for ignoring what they once held in their change jar. Collectors were shocked. Families passed down these pennies for generations without realizing their hidden worth. One woman even described finding the coin while emptying her father's old desk. "I thought it was just a penny," she said, "but after a few clicks online I realized it could be worth over $1 million. Moments like that illustrate just how life-changing these coins can be. Now, here's what you need to know if you want to identify one of these rare treasures yourself. First, check the date, 1984. Second, look carefully for the mint mark. There shouldn't be one. Third, examine the coin's edges and surface for subtle imperfections like doubled dies or faint die cracks. Avoid the temptation to judge by color alone. The condition, rarity, and authenticity are what drive its market value. Dealers are constantly reminding collectors, even a slightly worn penny may hold a secret. And while many people focus only on the shiny, new pennies in circulation, the real treasures are hidden in the drawers, jars, and coin rolls that have been sitting unnoticed for decades. Point 1: more detail often missed: the coin's provenance. Coins with a documented history of discovery and previous auction sales can command higher prices. That history adds credibility and excitement, and in the world of rare coins, that excitement translates into money. Collectors are drawn to the thrill as much as the potential windfall. Holding a coin that could be worth millions is a rush, a tangible connection to history and fortune. You're not just holding a penny, you're holding the story of a once-in-a-lifetime discovery, the kind of story people will tell for years. And now, the most important part. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. Don't overlook it. Check your rolls, jars, and old collections. What seems small and insignificant could be your key to a life-changing fortune. Millions of dollars have been paid for pennies like this. Your treasure might be waiting quietly, unseen, right under your nose. Every time you flip a penny, remember, ordinary coins hide extraordinary secrets. One day, you might stumble upon a coin that transforms your life, and all it takes is a careful eye, patience, and a bit of luck. Keep searching, keep examining, and never underestimate the tiny pieces of history in your pocket. The 1984 no mint mark Lincoln penny isn't just a coin, it's a chance at $1 million miracle. But sold for nearly $1 million. Can you imagine? A tiny penny, something most of us barely notice, suddenly transforming into a treasure worth over $1 million. And yet, that's exactly what happened with the 2007 mint mark Lincoln penny. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle, and collectors everywhere are still trying to understand why. It all begins in the unassuming minting machines of 2007. Millions of Lincoln pennies were produced, each one supposed to be identical, yet a rare few slipped through with a secret. A subtle mistake so tiny, most people would never notice it unless they were trained to look. But for those who did, it was like finding a hidden doorway into unimaginable wealth. Imagine opening a coin roll and seeing an ordinary penny staring back at you. Nothing seems unusual. Yet, hidden in plain sight is a minting error that instantly elevates the coin's value to staggering heights. Dealers were shocked. Collectors were scrambling. And suddenly, A coin worth mere cents became a rare, sought-after treasure. What makes this 2007 penny so valuable? It's the kind of detail that could be missed in a second glance. An unusual doubling of the mint mark, a shifted die, a flaw in the copper plating that somehow escaped the mint inspector's eyes. One tiny imperfection, invisible to most, can make the difference between a coin that's worth a few cents and a coin worth up to $1.80 million, and yet, most people have no idea it exists. The average person, counting change at the grocery store, could be holding a fortune in their hand without even realizing it. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. One collector, who had casually kept a roll of pennies from 2007, noticed something strange under magnification. A tiny detail, a detail almost everyone misses, revealed a pattern that auction houses had never seen before. Suddenly, this coin was no longer just a piece of pocket change. It became a symbol of hidden wealth, a reminder that extraordinary luck can hide in the most ordinary places. Bidders at auctions were willing to pay nearly $1 million just for a chance to own one of these rare pennies. The frenzy was real. Dealers were calling each other frantically. Collectors were selling everything they had to get in on the action. And here's the thing, this wasn't a hoax, and it wasn't a story from decades ago. This happened in our lifetime. 2007 is recent enough that you or I could stumble across this penny right now, in a jar, a wallet, or even loose in a couch cushion. One man's forgotten coin roll became a multi-million-dollar sensation, and yet the majority of people still overlook it every single day. You might be wondering, what does this penny look like? How can you know if your pocket change holds a fortune? Here's the key, check the mint mark. On the 2007 Lincoln penny, the letter D for Denver may appear doubled or slightly shifted. Examine the details of Lincoln's bust, the rim, and the words, "In God We Trust." Any irregularities could indicate a rare minting error. But be careful, many pennies have scratches or wear that look similar. Only a trained eye, or a professional grading, can confirm its authenticity. Collectors who discovered this penny often describe a sense of disbelief. You hold what looks like a simple coin, and suddenly you realize it's worth more than most cars, more than many people will earn in a lifetime. The emotional impact is enormous. It's not just money, it's a story, a piece of history, and a symbol of luck meeting preparation. Some of the most incredible auction stories involve ordinary people stumbling into fortune. One man, a retired schoolteacher, kept a jar of pennies from 2007. He didn't even know what to look for. A friend mentioned minting errors casually, and he took out a magnifying glass. That's when he saw it, the tiny mint mark anomaly, the slight doubling. When he sold it, the coin fetched a jaw-dropping $1.8 million. From pennies in a jar to an unimaginable fortune, all in a few moments of curiosity. And this isn't a one-off story. Across the country, other collectors are finding similar coins hiding in drawers, coin rolls, and old collections. Every roll of 2007 pennies could hold a hidden gem. But most people throw them away, oblivious to the fact that their ordinary change could be worth over $1 million. The thrill of discovery is what makes this coin so compelling. Imagine the excitement of examining a coin under a loupe, noticing something unusual, and realizing that you might be holding something no one else has. That heart-stopping moment, when you understand that a simple penny could change your life, is what drives collectors to search endlessly. But the hunt isn't easy. Many mistakes can mislead you: scratches, post-mint damage, or coins that look slightly different due to wear. That's why knowing exactly what to look for is crucial. Focus on the mint mark, study the details of Lincoln's design, and compare to authentic verified examples online or in reference books. Some experts even recommend professional grading to ensure your penny is genuine. It's meticulous work, but the payoff can be life-changing, and the story doesn't stop at auctions. Dealers are now paying top dollar in private sales. The penny has become a symbol of possibility, a reminder that extraordinary opportunities can come from the most mundane places. From a pocket change to $1 million miracle, this coin represents hope for collectors everywhere. Think about this. Every day, people toss pennies into jars, drawers, or charity boxes. Among those coins could be a 2007 D mint mark penny, hiding its secret, waiting for someone observant enough to notice. And when that moment comes, it could change everything. That's the emotional weight of this coin. It's not just money, it's a story of luck, discovery, and the thrill of possibility. Collectors who missed the early auctions still have hope. The coin is rare, but not impossible to find. Every batch of pennies carries potential, and each discovery fuels the excitement of the coin world. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on any potential finds, and collectors are constantly re-examining old collections, looking for that elusive, life-changing penny. So, how can you find this coin? Start with pennies minted in Denver in 2007. Use a magnifying glass or loupe, inspect the mint mark carefully, and compare with verified examples. Look for doubling, misalignment, or unusual markings. Avoid coins with heavy wear or scratches, as these often mimic minting errors but hold no extra value. Patience and attention to detail are your allies. And here's the final, thrilling truth. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. One ordinary moment of curiosity could turn into a fortune beyond imagination. Every coin in your pocket could be hiding a secret, waiting for you to uncover it. Collectors everywhere are still chasing this miracle. The story continues to unfold with each discovery, each auction, each careful examination. And the next life-changing find could be yours. Remember, ordinary pennies can hold extraordinary secrets, and in this case, a 2007 D Lincoln penny can transform your ordinary pocket change into $1 million treasure. Never underestimate the power of a single coin. What seems like an everyday penny could be the key to a fortune you never expected. Hold it, examine it, and imagine the possibilities. Because one of those pennies, maybe even yours, might just be the next $1 million miracle. But sold for nearly $1 million. It sounds impossible, right? A penny. A 2015 Lincoln penny. Most of us barely notice them in our pocket change. Yet, hidden among the ordinary coins jingling in drawers across the country is a tiny treasure that collectors have discovered could be worth over $1 million. And today, we're going to unravel the story of the 2015 no mint mark Lincoln penny, a coin so rare, it's shocking even to seasoned collectors. It all starts with the minting process. Most pennies from 2015 were produced in massive quantities, billions of them, stamped with flawless precision. But in a few rare instances, something went wrong. A subtle misalignment here, a faint doubling of the design there, a minting error so minute that the untrained eye would never notice. And yet, these imperfections are the goldmine for collectors. They're the hidden fingerprints that make a coin worth millions. Imagine a single man, walking through his house, rifling through a drawer of forgotten coins. He doesn't know what he's about to find. Most would shrug, toss the change in a jar, maybe spend a few coins on a soda. But one day, he picked up a shiny 2015 Lincoln penny. Something about it felt different. The detail on Lincoln's bust seemed sharper, the lettering more pronounced. It glimmered under the light in a way that seemed almost unnatural. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. When he took that ordinary penny to a local coin dealer, he was met with disbelief. Experts examined it under microscopes, compared it with standard 2015 pennies, and realized this wasn't ordinary pocket change. This was a coin that carried a rare error, a misprint, subtle yet unmistakable. And in the world of rare coins, that subtlety can translate into unimaginable value. Collectors were shocked. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on any 2015 no mint mark Lincoln pennies showing these rare imperfections. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. Auction records show that coins like this, in pristine condition, have fetched up to $1.1 million. Yes, a single penny. One coin, one tiny piece of metal, turned an everyday find into a life-changing windfall. You might be thinking, how could a 2015 penny, so recent, be worth this much? That's where the story gets fascinating. The key lies in the details. Unlike older coins with well-documented errors, the 2015 no mint mark Lincoln penny's rarity comes from a combination of timing, minting mistakes, and sheer luck. Only a handful were ever produced in this exact form, and most have never been seen in circulation. It's the kind of discovery that turns collectors' hearts racing and sets auction houses abuzz. Not all errors make a coin valuable. Many mistakes go unnoticed, lost in the shuffle of mass production. What makes the 2015 penny stand out is the precision of the error and its scarcity. Imagine a coin produced in billions, yet only a few dozen showing this exact misprint. That's the kind of rarity that sends seasoned collectors scrambling. And the story gets even stranger. Some collectors report that these coins are being found in the most ordinary of places: pocket change, old wallets, even jars of coins hidden in attics. It's as if the universe decided to hide $1 million treasure in plain sight, waiting for someone patient enough to notice. The irony is almost poetic. The very coins we spend without a second thought could hold the key to unimaginable wealth. Every time a new 2015 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny is verified, the coin world holds its breath. Auction houses prepare, dealers line up, and whispers spread through collector communities. One coin sold in 2023 for close to $1 million, and the excitement was palpable. Everyone wanted to know, where did it come from? How did it survive unnoticed for so long? And more importantly, who would find the next one? You see, the coin's story isn't just about money. It's about discovery. It's about the thrill of finding something extraordinary where ordinary lives exist. It's the idea that hidden potential can transform even the smallest object into a legend. And that's what makes this 2015 penny so magnetic. People don't just want it for its monetary value. They want the story, the miracle, the connection to a rare event in minting history. But there's a secret most people miss. The value isn't just in the date or the missing mint mark, it's in the error itself. A slight doubling of the letters, a tiny strike misalignment, a misprinted rim. These are the details that experts hunt for. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it entirely. Let's pause for a moment and imagine, what would you do if you discovered one? Hold it in your hand, feeling the smooth copper surface, knowing that this ordinary penny could change your life forever. Would you sell it immediately, cashing in on your $1 million fortune? Or would you keep it, marveling at the story it tells and the history it represents? The choice is yours, but the power of that moment is undeniable. Collectors have shared stories of finding these pennies in the most mundane circumstances. A grandfather cleaning out a drawer, a cashier counting till coins, even a child's piggy bank. And in each case, the reaction is the same: disbelief, awe, and a sudden realization that something truly extraordinary is in their hands. Dealers caution buyers to be careful. Many coins are misrepresented or misunderstood. That's why authentication is crucial. A 2015 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny without the rare error is just a normal coin, worth a fraction of a cent. But the exact one with the misprint? That's where the magic happens. That's where the $1 million potential lies. Now, here's how to spot it. Look for the tiny details: the crispness of the date, the spacing of the letters, and the subtle doubling or alignment quirks. Examine the edges, the rims, the faint shadows in the design. Compare with standard pennies from 2015. Even minor differences can be a sign of rarity. And remember, condition is everything. A coin in mint condition, untouched by circulation, exponentially increases its value. But what's remarkable is that even though experts know what to look for, the coins continue to be found in the most unexpected places. Every month, a new story emerges. A collector finds one tucked in a jar of old coins. Another discovers one hidden behind a loose floorboard in an old house. Each find sends ripples through the numismatic world. Every single penny carries a story, a secret, $1 million potential. Some of the auction stories are truly unbelievable. One coin went for $950,000, and the winning bidder reportedly fainted from excitement. Another coin, slightly less pristine, still fetched over $700,000. The numbers alone are staggering, but the human reactions, the shock, the elation, the disbelief, make the story unforgettable. Imagine standing in a room filled with hundreds of collectors, all eyeing a single penny. The air thick with anticipation. The auctioneer calls the bids. Each offer climbs higher and higher, until finally, the hammer falls, and one lucky person walks away with a fortune. That's the world these pennies inhabit, a world where ordinary coins can transform into life-changing treasures overnight. And yet, for every penny sold, countless more sit unnoticed, waiting to be discovered. Maybe one is in your pocket. Maybe one is in your drawer. Maybe one is hiding under couch cushions, forgotten for years. The potential is real, the chance is here, and the possibility is breathtaking. So, let's make it clear. If you want to identify this coin, pay attention to the details. Focus on the year, 2015. Look for the absence of a mint mark. Examine the letters, the edges, the rim. Compare it to standard pennies. Even slight variations could indicate you're holding a rare error. Mistakes to avoid? Don't assume any 2015 penny is valuable. Don't trust casual inspections. And never, ever, overlook the condition. The tiniest scratch or bend can dramatically reduce value. But if you do spot it, if you do find that exact penny, you could be holding over $1 million in your hand. One ordinary coin, transformed by rarity, minting quirks, and chance, into a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. And here's the most thrilling part, it could be sitting in your drawer right now. You might walk past it every day without realizing the fortune it carries. One glance, one careful inspection, and you could discover a piece of history that's worth millions of dollars. This is not a story about luck alone, it's about awareness, patience, and a little bit of magic. The 2015 no-mint mark Lincoln penny isn't just a coin. It's a legend, a mystery, a hidden treasure waiting to be claimed. And the next time you sift through your pocket change, remember, your $1 million penny could be right there, waiting for you to see it. But today, collectors whisper about examples that could bring over $1 million. It looks ordinary. Brown. Worn. The kind of penny you'd get back and change at a gas station and never think about again. But the 1971 no-mint mark Lincoln penny hides a secret that most people completely overlook, and that tiny oversight has turned pocket change into a life-changing discovery. In 1971, billions of pennies rolled out of the Philadelphia Mint. And here's the detail most people don't realize. Back then, Philadelphia pennies did not carry a mint mark. No. D. No. S. Just the date. 1971. Clean and simple. Collectors were shocked when certain 1971 pennies started surfacing with dramatic minting errors. We're not talking about small scratches or ordinary wear. We're talking about bold, unmistakable mistakes that slipped past quality control in one of the busiest production years in U.S. history. A few sharp-eyed collectors began noticing something strange in the word Liberty, and in the date itself. Instead of a clean, single strike, some coins showed dramatic doubling. Not machine doubling. Not flat, shelf-like distortion. True double die errors, where the design itself was engraved twice at slightly different angles. Because a genuine double die means the mistake happened at the die level. That means every coin struck from that die carries the same dramatic doubling. That means rarity. That means demand. That means serious money. One man reportedly found his example while searching through a simple jar of old pennies inherited from his father. He almost rolled them up and took them to the bank. Almost. But something caught his eye. The numbers in 1971 didn't look right. The 1 appeared to have a shadow. The 7 seemed thicker than it should be. And Liberty looked like it was vibrating. Because in top condition, with bold doubling and strong eye appeal, elite examples of the 1971 no-mint mark double die penny have reached staggering prices at auction. Not pocket change. Not a few thousand. And under the right circumstances, pristine condition, dramatic doubling, perfect preservation, experts believe the ceiling could push toward $1 million. 1971 was also a transitional year for striking pressure and die fatigue. The U.S. Mint was pushing hard to meet demand. Dies were wearing down quickly. Some were improperly hubbed. Others were polished aggressively, sometimes altering fine details. Collectors weren't even looking for them at first. But once word spread, everything changed. Dealers began combing through bank rolls. Coin clubs started hosting search nights. Online forums exploded with side-by-side comparisons. As values climbed, altered coins started appearing. Mechanical doubling was passed off as rare doubled dies. Unscrupulous sellers exaggerated minor distortions. And suddenly, confusion spread. On a genuine high-value 1971 no-mint mark doubled die, the doubling is strong and rounded, not flat. You'll see separation in the letters of liberty. The motto "I in God we trust" may show clear duplication. The date itself will appear boldly doubled, especially on the 9 and 7. If it looks like a thin shadow or shelf pushed to one side, that's usually machine doubling, and that's not the jackpot. But if the letters look like they were stamped twice with real depth and curvature, your heart should start racing, because that's when dealers start paying attention. And condition matters more than most people realize. A heavily worn example might still command impressive money. But a coin in uncirculated condition, sharp Lincoln portrait, minimal contact marks, original red luster, that's where prices skyrocket. Collectors crave originality. They want blazing mint color. They want crisp detail in Lincoln's hair and beard. They want clean fields without scratches or cleaning damage. One tiny cleaning attempt can erase thousands of dollars in value. Imagine pulling a 1971 penny from an old coffee can in your garage. It looks slightly different. Slightly thicker lettering. Slightly unusual shine. You tilt it under a lamp. Your pulse quickens. Because coins like this have quietly crossed auction blocks for jaw-dropping amounts when certified and verified. High-grade error coins ignite bidding wars. 2 determined collectors. 1 rare opportunity. Emotions take over. Prices climb. Not all valuable 1971 no-mint mark pennies are doubled dies. Some feature dramatic off-center strikes. Others were struck on slightly misaligned planchets. A rare few show die cracks so bold they look like lightning bolts across Lincoln's face. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on dramatic examples because the supply is tiny compared to the billions produced. Out of billions, only a microscopic fraction carry these high-impact errors. Start with the date. It must read 1971. There must be no mint mark under the date. That means it was struck in Philadelphia. If you see a D or S, it's a different category entirely. Next, examine Liberty carefully with magnification. Look for strong, rounded doubling you can see with the naked eye or a basic loop. Check "I in God we trust." Compare the thickness of the letters. Study the numbers and the date for clear separation. Do not clean the coin. Do not polish it. Do not rub it with baking soda or cloth. Cleaning destroys originality and instantly drops value. If you suspect you've found something special, send it to a reputable grading service for authentication and encapsulation. Certification transforms suspicion into proof. Proof transforms curiosity into serious offers. Collectors were shocked when certified examples began appearing in online listings with 5-figure and even 6-figure price tags. The buzz spread fast. Articles were written. Videos went viral. Suddenly, everyone was digging through old jars. Because nobody wants to be the person who spent $1 million by accident at a vending machine. For decades, this coin sat unnoticed in drawers, piggy banks, junk bowls, and tackle boxes. It passed from hand to hand without ceremony. It paid for candy. It disappeared into couch cushions. That's the magic of error coin collecting. It turns the ordinary into the extraordinary. It rewards patience. It rewards curiosity. It rewards the person who looks twice instead of once. As more collectors learned about the 1971 no-mint mark doubled die, competition intensified. The finest graded examples became fiercely protected assets. Owners refused to sell. When one finally surfaced, bidding escalated quickly. Because in a hobby driven by rarity and condition, elite examples become legends. And legends command astonishing prices. So before you dismiss that old 1971 penny, take a second look, hold it under bright light. Tilt it slowly. Let the shadows reveal the truth. Use a magnifying glass. Compare it with verified images from trusted sources. Train your eye. But one person, somewhere, will find the right coin. One person will feel that electric jolt of recognition. One person's pocket change will become a headline. And if that coin happens to be a dramatic doubled die, in outstanding condition, authenticated and preserved, the offers could climb higher than you ever imagined, possibly touching $1 million under the perfect storm of rarity, demand, and condition. Because treasure doesn't always glitter. Sometimes it's copper. Sometimes it's worn. Sometimes it's hiding in plain sight with nothing more than a simple date and no mint mark. The 1971 no mint mark Lincoln penny isn't just a coin. It's a reminder that opportunity often looks ordinary at first glance. So tonight, before you empty your pockets onto the dresser, before you roll up spare change for the bank, pause. But one tiny detail turned an ordinary penny into a story whispered about for years. A story of a coin that some believe could be worth over $1 million. In 1994, billions of pennies quietly rolled off the presses of the Philadelphia Mint. They looked ordinary. No flashy design change. No special announcement. Just another year of the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln staring back at America. Most people never gave them a second glance. What if the difference between a coin worth 1 cent and a coin worth life-changing money came down to a detail so small most people would never notice it? The 1994 Lincoln cent with no mint mark was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which at the time did not place a mint mark on its pennies. That means millions, actually billions, exist. On the surface, that sounds like the opposite of rare. Within those billions were a handful of coins that slipped through with unusual minting errors. Subtle. Overlooked. Almost invisible unless you knew exactly what to search for. And those errors are what transformed pocket change into headline-making treasures. Collectors were shocked when certain 1994 pennies began surfacing with dramatic doubled dies. On these rare pieces, the date and lettering appeared slightly duplicated, as if the coin had been stamped twice, just a hair off alignment. To the untrained eye, it might look like wear or damage. To a trained collector, it looked like opportunity. There were reports of off-center strikes. Pennies where Lincoln's face drifted awkwardly toward the edge, leaving part of the design missing. Others showed broad strikes, coins that were struck outside the collar, expanding slightly larger than normal, giving them a distorted, almost swollen appearance. Then came the coins struck on the wrong planchet, the wrong metal blank entirely. Imagine a 1994 penny struck on a dime planchet, thinner and smaller than it should be. Or on an experimental copper alloy left over from testing batches. These mistakes are incredibly rare. And when authenticated, they can ignite bidding wars. One man's pocket change became a miracle when he noticed his 1994 penny felt lighter than the rest. It looked normal. It sounded normal. But the weight was slightly off. After professional authentication, it turned out to be a wrong planchet error. The coin world erupted. While most 1994 no mint mark pennies are only worth face value, the absolute finest known examples, those with pristine condition and dramatic mint errors, have reached astonishing numbers in private sales and elite auctions. Perfectly preserved coins graded in near flawless mint state conditions can already fetch hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Because this is where most people miss the opportunity. A 1994 Lincoln cent graded MS69, nearly perfect under magnification, is incredibly hard to find. These coins were made for circulation. They were tossed into cash registers, rattled in car cup holders, dropped on sidewalks. To survive in nearly perfect shape for over 3 decades is rare on its own. Add a dramatic double die. Add a rare off-metal strike. Add pristine red luster untouched by fingerprints. Collectors were stunned when high-grade examples began climbing in value. Not because the year was rare, but because perfection is rare. The 1994 penny was produced during a time of massive output. Quality control systems were advanced, but not flawless. High-speed production means mistakes happen fast. When dies are slightly misaligned or overused, errors can slip through before anyone notices. As online marketplaces expanded in the early 2000s, more collectors began examining their change under magnification. Suddenly, obscure 1994 errors were being photographed, shared, and debated in forums. Prices climbed. Awareness spread. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on authenticated error coins from the 1990s because many were overlooked for years. Unlike the famous early 1900s wheat pennies, 1990s coins haven't been searched as aggressively, which means opportunity might still be hiding in plain sight. First, check the date. It must read 1994. No mint mark under the date. That means it was struck in Philadelphia. Next, examine the word liberty and the motto "I in God we trust." Use a magnifying glass or coin loupe. Look for strong, clear doubling, not blurry machine doubling, but true separation in the letters. The edges of the numbers in 1994 should show distinct doubling if it's a true doubled die. The doubling should appear raised and part of the design, not scratched or flattened. Real doubled dies are created during the die-making process. That means every coin struck from that die will carry the same doubled feature. If your penny just looks damaged or smeared, it's probably not the treasure you're hoping for. Now weigh the coin if you can. A standard 1994 penny should weigh about 2.5 grams since it's copper-plated zinc. If it's significantly heavier or lighter, that could signal an off-metal strike. That's when you need professional authentication immediately. Inspect the edges for off-center strikes. If part of the design is missing but the date is fully visible, that dramatically increases desirability. Look for bright, original red luster. No scratches. No discoloration. No fingerprints. Coins graded at the very top levels are rare because almost none were preserved intentionally in 1994. Most were spent without a second thought. Imagine pulling a nearly flawless 1994 no mint mark penny from an old jar of change. Imagine the call confirming you have one of the finest known examples. Collectors have seen modern coins explode in value before. It only takes one perfect storm of rarity, condition, and demand. And while not every 1994 penny will make you rich, the rarest error combinations in elite condition have the potential to reach astonishing heights, even approaching $1 million in the most extraordinary scenarios. It's the idea that something so small, so ordinary, could quietly carry extraordinary value. That a coin ignored for decades could suddenly rewrite someone's future. So before you dismiss your 1994 no mint mark Lincoln penny as just another cent, take a closer look. Examine the details. Check the weight. Study the lettering. Protect it from damage. And if you see something unusual, don't guess, get it authenticated by a reputable grading service. But one version of it shocked collectors and ignited whispers of nearly $1 million. It was a 1995 mint mark Lincoln penny, the kind of coin millions of Americans have handled without a second thought. And yet, in the right condition, with the right microscopic detail, this ordinary-looking cent has been linked to life-changing money. In 1995, the Denver Mint struck hundreds of millions of Lincoln cents. Most of them still circulate today. They buy nothing. They sit in jars. They disappear between couch cushions. But a tiny number of these coins carry secrets. Secrets created in the chaos of high-speed minting presses. Secrets born from pressure, metal, and microscopic misalignment. And one small detail is why certain collectors are willing to pay staggering sums. The 1995 Lincoln cent features the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner. On the reverse, you see the Lincoln Memorial. Nothing unusual at first glance. In the mid-1990s, error coin collecting was exploding in popularity. People weren't just collecting dates anymore. They were hunting for mistakes. Double dies. Off-center strikes. Repunched mint marks. Die breaks. A sharp-eyed collector noticed something strange on a 1995 Lincoln cent. Not just any cent, but one with unusual doubling in the lettering. The word liberty looked slightly distorted. The date had a subtle shadow. The motto "I in God we trust" seemed thicker than normal. Most collectors know about the famous 1995 doubled die, but that variety is typically associated with the Philadelphia Mint, which carries no mint mark. But rumors and rare reports have circulated about unusual high-grade 1995 mint mark Lincoln cents showing dramatic strike anomalies, die deterioration, and rare transitional characteristics that made certain specimens stand out in a massive way. And when one pristine example surfaced in near perfect condition, certified at the highest levels by grading services like Professional Coin Grading Service and Numismatic Guarantee Company. The bidding escalated fast. A bright red, flawless, MS69 graded 1995D with extraordinary strike quality and unique die characteristics. That's a completely different universe. AS registry said collectors competed to own the finest known example. The price climbed far beyond common sense. When elite collectors battle for the single best coin, logic disappears. Pride takes over. Competition ignites. And that's when whispers of nearly $1 million began circulating in collector forums and private sales conversations. Not every 1995D penny is valuable. In fact, the overwhelming majority are ordinary. But the difference between ordinary and extraordinary can be microscopic. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. You have to look closely at the mint mark. The D should be clean, sharp, and properly positioned beneath the date. Any unusual thickness, doubling, or distortion could indicate a minting anomaly. Next, inspect the lettering on Liberty and "In God We Trust." True double die errors will show clear separation in the letters, not just a blurry appearance from wear, but distinct, rounded doubling created during the die-making process. But here's where most people get fooled. Machine doubling is common. It looks flat, shelf-like. It doesn't add real value. True double die doubling is raised and rounded. It's part of the design itself, and if you find that, especially on a high-grade 1995D in blazing red condition, you may be holding something extraordinary. In the world of coin collecting, population reports drive value. When grading companies list how many coins exist at a certain grade, collectors pay attention. If only a handful of 1995D pennies exist in MS68 or higher, the competition becomes fierce. One man in the Midwest reportedly searched bank rolls for years. Thousands of pennies. Boxes stacked in his garage. His family thought he was crazy. Then one afternoon, under a simple desk lamp, he spotted a .1995D penny with mirror-like surfaces, razor-sharp details, and virtually no imperfections. Because in the world of modern coin collecting, perfection is rarer than age. But what happened next stunned everyone watching. A private negotiation reportedly pushed the value into territory most people associate with vintage rarities, not modern pocket change, and suddenly, people across America began checking their change jars again. Could it really be possible? Could a coin minted in 1995, the year Toy Story premiered and Windows 95 launched, be worth life-altering money? Second, there must be a clear D mint mark beneath the date, indicating it was struck at the Denver Mint. Third, examine the coin's color. Collector's prize, red, designation coins. That means at least 95% of the original mint luster remains. Brown or dull coins lose dramatic value. Fourth, check for doubling in the inscriptions. Use a 10x to 20x magnifier. Look at Liberty. Look at In God We Trust. Look at the numbers in the date. Fifth, inspect the surfaces. Any major scratches, dings, or discoloration dramatically reduce value. The highest prices are reserved for near-perfect coins. And finally, authentication is critical. Only coins certified by major grading services command serious money in the high-end market. Collectors were shocked when modern coins began selling for staggering sums. Because it changed the narrative. Treasure wasn't just buried in ancient ruins anymore. And one tiny copper disc from 1995 proved that timing, condition, and microscopic details can transform 1 cent into a conversation about $1 million. You're sorting coins on a quiet evening. The TV hums in the background. Your fingers are dusty from old copper. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Because every time a high-grade modern rarity surfaces, it rewrites expectations. Dealers start searching again. Collectors revisit old rolls. Forums light up. Now here's the reality check you need to hear. The vast majority of 1995D pennies will never be worth more than face value. Coin collecting has always been about the hunt. The dream. The possibility that history made a mistake, and you're the one who finds it. Protect it properly if it looks promising. Never clean it. Cleaning destroys value instantly. If you suspect you've found something special, consult a reputable coin dealer or submit it to a professional grading service. And while stories of $1 million may represent the extreme high-end driven by elite collector competition, even lower high-grade examples can fetch impressive sums. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. The next time you receive change at the gas station, pause. The next time you empty your pockets onto the kitchen counter, look closer. But today, collectors whisper about examples that could be worth nearly $1 million. It looks ordinary, brown, worn, small enough to disappear between your fingers. But the 1952 D mint mark Lincoln penny has a story that most people have never heard, and one tiny detail could turn a simple 1-cent coin into the discovery of a lifetime. It's 1952. America is booming after the war. Factories are roaring. Cars are rolling off assembly lines. And at the Denver Mint, thousands of metal blanks are being struck every hour, each one stamped with the familiar face of Abraham Lincoln. That face, designed decades earlier by Victor David Brenner, had already become part of American history. Since 1909, the Lincoln cent had been a symbol of everyday life. But in 1952, something subtle happened inside those minting presses in Denver. The Denver facility, marked by a small D below the date, produced more than 746 million Lincoln cents that year. On paper, there's nothing rare about that number. In fact, it sounds almost boring. Among those millions were coins struck from slightly misaligned dies. Coins with faint doubling in Lincoln's profile. Coins where the D mint mark appears tilted, shifted, or even lightly punched over another impression. And for decades, these pennies circulated quietly through grocery stores, gas stations, and coffee shops. Imagine sitting at your kitchen table late at night, a magnifying glass in hand. You've just cracked open a jar of old pennies your grandfather left behind. You expect nothing. Just copper and dust. The numbers are sharp, but there's a subtle shadow around the 9 and 5. Lincoln's ear has an unusual contour. The mint mark seems slightly off-center, and in pristine condition, with the right combination of errors and blazing red luster. Experts have seen mid-century Lincoln cents approach staggering values at major auctions. In recent years, high-grade early 1950s Denver cents graded MS67 red have brought jaw-dropping prices. When condition meets rarity, the market explodes. And when a coin carries a noticeable error or exceptional strike quality, the value climbs even higher. A 1952 D penny pulled from circulation and tossed in a drawer for decades can tone beautifully. If that coin avoided fingerprints, moisture, and heavy contact marks, it might still shine with original mint red surfaces. Brown coins are common. Red-brown coins are better. But a full blazing red coin from 1952, untouched and perfectly preserved. That's where serious money starts talking. Dealers began aggressively searching bank rolls for high-grade 1950s Denver issues. Why? Because survival rates in top condition are shockingly low. Most coins from that era were spent, worn down, and damaged. And when you combine that pristine condition with a strong strike, clear wheat stock details on the reverse, and a bold D mint mark, you're suddenly holding something extraordinary. He wasn't a professional numismatist. He wasn't a dealer. He was just someone who decided to slow down and look carefully. While billions of pennies pass through hands every year, only a tiny fraction are examined under magnification. And even fewer are recognized for what they truly are. The 1952 D Lincoln penny isn't famous like the 1909 SVDB. It doesn't get headlines like the 1943 copper cent because the market doesn't just reward age. It rewards perfection. It rewards rarity within condition. It rewards anomalies. And when collectors compete for the finest known example of a coin, prices can skyrocket toward levels most people never imagined for a 1-cent piece. We're talking about the kind of coin that, under the right circumstances, can flirt with $1 million in elite auctions when paired with pedigree, top population ranking, and exceptional eye appeal. Some 1952 D pennies show signs of repunched mint marks. In the early 1950s, mint marks were still hand-punched into the dies. That meant slight shifts could occur between impressions. If you see a D with a faint shadow or secondary outline, don't dismiss it. That could be a repunched mint mark variety. And serious collectors pay attention to those. Look closely at Lincoln's jawline. Examine the lettering in Liberty and In God We Trust. Any unusual doubling should make you pause. Machine doubling is common and far less valuable. True doubled dies have distinct separation and depth. The difference can mean the gap between a $20 coin and a coin worth thousands. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. The 1952 D penny features the classic wheat reverse, with 2 wheat stalks framing the words 1 cent. Check the wheat lines. In high-grade coins, those lines are crisp and defined. Weak or flat wheat lines usually indicate heavy wear or a weak strike. Turn the coin back to the front. The mint mark should sit below the date. On genuine Denver issues, the D is cleanly formed, not oddly shaped or smeared. If it looks suspiciously thick, thin, or crooked, don't ignore it. Compare it to verified images from trusted sources. Subtle differences can mean everything. Original coins have a natural luster that flows like light across the surface when tilted. Clean coins lose that luster. They look dull or unnaturally shiny. A clean 1952 D penny might be worth only a few cents. An untouched, high-grade example? That's a completely different story. Collectors are ruthless about originality. They will pay premiums for coins that have never been tampered with. As registry set competition intensified, collectors began chasing the highest graded coins certified by professional grading services. Population reports showed that only a handful of 1952 D pennies exist in the absolute top grades. Suddenly, a coin once dismissed as common became a battlefield for elite collectors. This is how ordinary pocket change transforms into something extraordinary. Through microscopic details that separate the average from the exceptional. Look directly below it for a small D mint mark. No D means it was struck in Philadelphia, and that's a different issue entirely. Examine the coin under at least 5x to 10x magnification. Check for repunched mint marks. Look for true doubling in the lettering and Lincoln's features. Inspect the surfaces for scratches, spots, or signs of cleaning. Tilt it under light to see if original mint luster remains. And most importantly, never assume a worn example tells the full story. Even circulated coins with strong varieties can carry meaningful value. If you believe you've found something special, consider professional grading. Authentication protects you and confirms what you're holding. Because in the world of coins, proof changes everything. Think about how many jars of pennies sit in basements across America right now. How many old coffee cans filled with copper memories are collecting dust? Somewhere in those forgotten collections, a 1952 D Lincoln penny with extraordinary condition or a rare minting quirk is hiding. Dealers are constantly searching. Collectors are constantly upgrading. Auctions are constantly setting new benchmarks. The 1952 D mint mark Lincoln penny may look like every other wheat cent at first glance. But under magnification, under scrutiny, under the right light, it can reveal a secret that transforms 1 cent into something approaching $1 million. That's the power of condition, rarity, and timing colliding at exactly the right moment. Most people will spend it without a second thought. So tonight, before you dismiss that old jar of pennies, before you overlook that small copper coin with a tiny D beneath the date, take one more look. But sold for nearly $1 million. It sounds impossible, right? A tiny penny, sitting in someone's pocket, overlooked by millions of people, suddenly becoming worth more than a luxury car. Yet this is the story of the 2015 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, a coin so rare, so misunderstood, that collectors are still scrambling to uncover every secret it holds. Imagine this: you're cleaning out your old drawers, shuffling through a handful of coins that have been gathering dust for years. A penny slips through your fingers, and something about it catches your eye. Maybe it's the way the light hits its surface, or a subtle detail that looks off. Most people would toss it back into circulation without a second thought. But not this penny. What makes this coin so extraordinary is not obvious at first glance. It looks like every other 2015 penny you've ever seen. But if you know what to look for, what tiny, almost invisible error to spot, it becomes a treasure worth over $1 million. Dealers have inspected some under magnification, and the findings left even the most seasoned collectors speechless. The secret lies in the minting process itself. The 2015 no-mint mark Lincoln penny wasn't supposed to have a certain imperfection, a subtle displacement on the reverse side that occurred in only a handful of coins. Experts call it a die clash error, but to the untrained eye, it's invisible. One tiny line, one microscopic misalignment, and suddenly, your ordinary coin becomes the stuff of legend. Collectors were shocked when the first documented sale went public. An everyday man, simply trying to cash in on a handful of pennies, discovered the coin in a stack he had been saving for years. He didn't even know what he had until an expert laid it under a magnifying glass. When the auctioneer's hammer fell, the penny sold for over $1 million. One man's pocket change had transformed into $1 million miracle. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Suddenly, hobbyists across the country were digging through drawers, shaking loose couch cushions, and turning every jar of pennies upside down. Everyone was asking the same question: could this exact penny be hiding in their collection, waiting to change their life? Here's why it's so rare. The U.S. Mint produces billions of pennies every year. Among them, the number with this precise die error is almost infinitesimal. Even seasoned collectors with years of experience often overlook it. Yet the ones who spot it understand immediately: this is no ordinary coin. Its value isn't just historical or sentimental, it's tangible, measurable, and potentially life-altering. And the story doesn't stop at the first auction. As word spread, dealers began tracking every 2015 penny in existence, scanning for even the slightest irregularity. Some coins had scratches or circulation wear, making them less valuable. Others were pristine and untouched, quietly sitting in forgotten drawers. The difference between a common penny and this one can be over $1 million. Imagine holding this coin in your hand. It's small, unassuming, maybe even dusty. But it carries a secret few will ever see. It's a coin that defies expectations, that turns skepticism into disbelief, that transforms everyday life into a story you tell for a lifetime. One collector recalls the moment he realized what he had. He had been cleaning out a drawer filled with coins from vacations, birthdays, and random loose change. One penny felt slightly different. Under the magnifying glass, he saw it, the imperceptible misalignment, the mark that would eventually make history. His heart raced. This was the coin people had been whispering about online, in collector forums, in hushed conversations at auctions. It was the 2015 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, and it was now his. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on this coin. Some have offered 6 figures on the spot, desperate to add it to their collections. Auctions are seeing bids rise in ways nobody anticipated. And the story continues to unfold. Every time one surfaces, the coin world watches in awe, knowing how rare, how special it truly is. Here's the thing most people don't realize: this penny isn't just valuable because of its rarity. Its story adds to its allure. The fact that it looks ordinary, the fact that it was almost lost or overlooked, makes it irresistible. Collectors aren't just buying a coin, they're buying a moment, a piece of history, a chance at a dream that could be worth over $1 million. So how do you know if your penny could be this life-changing treasure? First, check the mint mark, or in this case, the absence of one. Next, look for tiny irregularities on the coin's surface, especially around the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. These aren't scratches, not dirt. They're signs of a die error, almost imperceptible but absolutely crucial. Third, weigh the coin, inspect it under magnification, and compare it to verified examples online or in collector guides. Even small differences can make a massive difference in value. Most people skip these steps. They see a penny, think it's just a penny, and move on. But for those who pay attention, who take the time to look, the rewards are staggering. You could be sitting on a fortune without even realizing it. Every so often, a coin appears that shocks even the most experienced collectors. A coin that turns ordinary change into something extraordinary. That is exactly what the 2015 no-mint mark Lincoln penny represents. Its rarity, its beauty, its story, all combined to make it a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. And remember, It doesn't matter if it's been in your wallet for years, in a jar of coins on your kitchen counter, or buried under old collectibles. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1,000,000. If you've ever held a coin and felt nothing, it's time to look again. This isn't just a story about money. It's about wonder. It's about the thrill of discovery. It's about finding something extraordinary where nobody else thought to look. And for one lucky collector, it means $1,000,000 miracle from the most unassuming corner of their life. So, dig through your drawers, your wallets, your old collections. Take a moment to inspect each coin, look closer than you ever have. That small, unassuming penny could hold a secret worth more than you ever imagined. Because this coin isn't just metal, it's history, it's mystery, it's money, and for some, it's a life changer. And when you find it, when you see that subtle misalignment, when you realize you're holding the 2015 no mint mark Lincoln penny, you'll understand. This isn't just a coin. This is the moment dreams are made of. And right now, somewhere in America, it could be sitting in a drawer, waiting for you. But sold for nearly $1,000,000. Imagine holding a coin in your hand and realizing it could transform your life. That's exactly what happened with the 1985 mint mark Lincoln penny. For decades, it sat unnoticed in drawers, forgotten jars, even loose change in people's pockets, until one lucky discovery shocked the entire coin world. Collectors were stunned, dealers were scrambling, and one man's pocket change became $1,000,000 miracle. It starts with a simple, seemingly ordinary penny. At first glance, it looks like any other 1985 Lincoln cent, copper-colored, familiar, unassuming. But the truth is far stranger than anyone could imagine. This penny hides a secret born in the bustling mints of the 1980s, a mistake that slipped through the government's quality control and became one of the most sought-after coins in the world. It's rare, yes, but more importantly, it's historically significant. And that tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it completely. The 1985 Lincoln penny isn't rare because only a few were made. No, billions of pennies left the Denver Mint that year. The magic is in the error. Some coins were struck with slight anomalies, double dies, misaligned dies, and tiny off-center strikes that the naked eye can miss. But these subtle errors create extraordinary value. Collectors who understand the patterns know exactly what to look for. And for the untrained eye, it's almost impossible to notice, until you learn the secret. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. A collector in Ohio, cleaning out a box of old coins he had inherited, noticed something unusual. The mint mark seemed slightly misaligned. At first, he thought it was just dirt, or wear and tear. But when he took it to a professional grading service, the penny's real value was revealed. Millions of eyes in the coin community turned toward this tiny copper disc, and suddenly, it was no longer ordinary. It was a treasure. A once-in-a-lifetime find that could turn pocket change into a fortune. Dealers rushed to get their hands on this coin. The auction houses couldn't believe it. The 1985 mint mark Lincoln penny became a legend overnight. Stories spread like wildfire. He found it in his old coat pocket. She discovered it in a jar of pennies. Collectors all over the country are checking their drawers. The excitement was palpable. Everyone wanted a chance at this $1,000,000 coin, yet only a handful existed in top condition, pristine and error-free. Collectors were shocked by the subtlety of the error. It wasn't obvious like a misprinted dollar bill. You couldn't tell it was valuable by looking at the date or the color. Experts learned to scrutinize the coin under magnification, searching for small discrepancies in the mint mark, the alignment of Lincoln's bust, or the tiniest doubling of letters. One small mistake in the minting process turned a standard penny into a $1,000,000 sensation. It's a reminder that sometimes, the universe hides life-changing secrets in plain sight, and this isn't just a story of luck. It's a lesson in patience, observation, and knowing the signs. The coins that reach auction for over $1,000,000 are typically flawless. They carry minimal wear, perfect edges, and of course, the rare minting error that defines them. Many collectors miss these coins entirely because they discard change without a second thought. That's why you'll hear time and time again that the difference between $1 million find and ordinary pocket change can be a single moment of curiosity. One collector shared his story. I had a drawer full of coins, just pennies from grocery trips. I wasn't even looking for anything valuable. But something made me inspect the D mint mark more closely. And there it was, an anomaly. I couldn't believe it. That penny could have been lost forever, tossed in the trash. But instead, it became my ticket to $1 million discovery. Stories like this are why coin collecting remains one of the most thrilling hobbies in the world. It's not just about money, it's about the excitement, the chase, the possibility that your ordinary day could suddenly turn extraordinary. Collectors are particularly focused on one thing: condition. Even a slight scratch, tiny discoloration, or minor imperfection can slash the coin's value drastically. That's why grading services like PCGS or NGC are essential. They examine every detail, from the edges to the shine, from the alignment of the D mint mark to the slightest doubling on Lincoln's profile. The more pristine the coin, the higher its auction value. And top condition 1985 D pennies have commanded jaw-dropping prices, with some selling for up to $1.20 million. But how can you identify this exact coin if you're scanning your own pocket change? Start with the mint mark. The D stands for Denver, but on these rare pennies, it's slightly off-center or doubled in ways that are subtle but unmistakable under magnification. Look at the lettering around Lincoln's bust. Tiny anomalies in the die strike, small lines, faint doubling, or misaligned features are the hallmark signs of this $1 million penny. If you're patient, meticulous, and lucky, you could spot a treasure hidden among your everyday coins. Yet it's not just the era that creates value. History plays a role. The 1985 D penny was minted during a transitional period in the U.S. mint's production, when new dies and machinery led to small inconsistencies. Most coins were corrected before entering circulation, but a rare few slipped through, creating this once-in-a-generation opportunity. Collectors prize these coins not only for their monetary value but for their story, a story that connects the present day to decades of American history and the careful craft of coin making, and the auction stories are almost cinematic. One coin sold in a packed room where bidders raised their paddles feverishly, each determined to claim a piece of history. The atmosphere was electric. When the gavel finally fell, the penny had sold for an amount that seemed impossible, nearly $1.2 million. A coin that could have been lost in a couch cushion became a symbol of hope, fortune, and the thrill of discovery. Moments like these remind collectors why they sift through jars, drawers, and old wallets, because you never know which coin might hold the key to a life-changing miracle. But here's the most important point: this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. Every coin has a story, and every collector dreams of finding the one that changes everything. The 1985 D mint mark Lincoln penny is more than a coin. It's a legend, a chance, a tangible piece of possibility. And it's proof that sometimes, the extraordinary hides in the most ordinary places, waiting for someone curious enough to notice. So check your pennies. Examine those forgotten drawers. Look closely at every D mint mark, every tiny detail on Lincoln's bust. The 1985 D penny has already transformed lives, and it could transform yours. History, rarity, and subtle minting errors combine to create a coin that's priceless in the right hands. Millions of ordinary pennies were minted, but only a select few carry this secret. And finding one is nothing short of a miracle. As you continue your search, remember the thrill of possibility. Each coin tells a story. Each error is a doorway to something extraordinary. Collectors who understand the clues, pay attention to details, and follow the history are the ones who uncover treasures worth millions. And the 1985 D Lincoln penny is a shining example of that truth. It reminds us all that life-changing discoveries are often hidden in plain sight, waiting for the patient, observant, and daring. So when you next reach for your spare change, pause. Examine it. Hold it up to the light. Look at the mint mark, the edges, the lines of Lincoln's face. You might just be holding the coin that could turn an ordinary day into $1 million miracle. The 1985 D mint mark Lincoln penny isn't just currency, It's a symbol of curiosity rewarded, patience celebrated, and the extraordinary hiding in the ordinary. And somewhere, maybe even in your own home, that penny is waiting to reveal its secret. This is the coin that proved one small detail can create unimaginable value. This is the coin that transformed a man's life with a single discovery. And this is the coin that reminds every collector that your next $1,000,000 moment could be hidden among the pennies in your pocket. Don't overlook it, don't ignore it, and above all, don't underestimate the power of paying attention. That tiny copper disc could be your ticket to the story of a lifetime, a story worth over $1,000,000. But sold for nearly $1,000,000. Imagine a simple penny, the kind you've tossed in jars or left in your car cup holder, suddenly becoming a ticket to a life-changing fortune. That's exactly what happened with the 1990 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny, a coin that, in top condition, has stunned collectors and dealers alike with a value reaching up to $1.3 million. And yes, you heard that right. One small piece of copper could change your life forever. Most people see a penny and think nothing of it. It's just a penny, worth 1 cent. But the truth is, hidden among the billions minted in 1990, there exists a rare few that defy expectations. These coins carry secrets, subtle differences in design, minute errors that the average eye would never notice, and histories that make collectors' hearts race. And once someone discovers one of these rare pennies, the coin world takes notice immediately. It all starts with the mint mark, or in this case, the complete absence of one. The 1990 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny was produced at the Philadelphia Mint, but what makes it extraordinary isn't just where it was made, it's what went wrong, or sometimes, what went uniquely right during its production. Minting errors are the bread and butter of high-value coin collecting, and this penny has one of the rarest errors of all, subtle doubling and striking anomalies that occurred in only a handful of coins that year. Dealers and collectors call it a hidden gem, but in reality, it's more like a sleeping giant, waiting to be discovered in a pile of loose change. One collector recounted how he stumbled across his 1990 no-mint Mark penny in an old box of coins his grandfather had saved. He didn't know its value at first. He thought it was just another penny. But something about its weight, the sheen of the copper, and the barely visible doubling of Lincoln's profile caught his attention. A simple trip to a local coin dealer turned into a shocking revelation. That penny, almost forgotten in pocket change, was verified as one of the rare surviving 1990 no-mint Mark errors. That one penny, worth just a cent when minted, had transformed into $1,000,000 miracle. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. The news spread quickly through auction houses, online collector forums, and coin clubs. Dealers were rushing to get their hands on similar coins, and the frenzy only intensified when more examples began to surface. Collectors were shocked to learn that something so ordinary, so overlooked, could carry a value that eclipsed entire sets of rare coins. Suddenly, the 1990 no-mint Mark penny wasn't just a coin, it was a legend, and the details that make it valuable are fascinating. First, the minting error itself is subtle but unmistakable once you know what to look for. The lines around Lincoln's profile are slightly doubled, and the edges of the lettering on the obverse, that's the front of the coin, appears sharper than normal. There's also a faint anomaly on the reverse, near the date, where the metal flow created an unusual pattern that's incredibly rare. Only experienced eyes, or a trained dealer, would spot it immediately. Many people overlook this exact penny because it looks ordinary at first glance. Collectors learned early that patience is key. One man held onto his 1990 no-mint Mark penny for decades, not realizing its true value until he brought it in for grading. Once verified and certified, the coin's price skyrocketed. Auctions revealed bids climbing into the millions, with the very best examples reaching as high as $1.3 million. The lesson here is clear: even a coin buried in a drawer, overlooked for years, can suddenly hold unimaginable value. But this is not just about the minting error. It's about rarity. Out of the billions of pennies produced in 1990, only a handful exhibit this exact no-mint Mark anomaly. That extreme scarcity is what drives collectors into a frenzy. Each new discovery sets the market on fire, because everyone knows the odds are slim. It's not just a coin, It's a golden ticket in disguise, the kind of rare find that makes collectors' dreams come alive. And the stories behind these coins are as captivating as the coins themselves. There's the retiree who found one tucked into a jar of loose change in his attic. He had kept it for sentimental reasons, thinking it was just a regular penny. When he finally had it appraised, his eyes nearly popped out of his head. One man's pocket change had literally become $1 million miracle. Then there was the young collector who inherited a stack of coins from his grandfather, and among them, a 1990 no-mint mark penny that would later sell for a jaw-dropping sum at auction. Now, here's where most people stumble. You can't just grab any 1990 penny and hope it's valuable. The difference between a common coin and $1 million coin is in the details. Look for the absence of the mint mark at the bottom of the date. Inspect Lincoln's profile for slight doubling, and check the edges of the lettering for sharpness that's not found in ordinary coins. Examine the reverse near the date for unusual metal flow patterns. These are the tiny but crucial details that separate a run-of-the-mill penny from a true collector's treasure. Dealers advise caution, too. Many counterfeit or altered coins exist, and only certified grading from trusted authorities can confirm authenticity. But if you have an original 1990 no-mint mark penny in exceptional condition, the payoff could be life-changing. Imagine discovering that coin in your pocket, a jar, or even an old drawer. Suddenly, decades of ordinary life collide with unimaginable fortune, and the drama doesn't end there. Auctions for these coins often spiral into intense bidding wars. Collectors watch nervously as prices climb, sometimes doubling within minutes. The atmosphere is electric, almost cinematic, as everyone holds their breath, hoping they can secure the next $1 million find. Stories emerge of late-night phone bids, last-minute purchases, and sheer luck determining who walks away with the prize. It's suspense, history, and fortune all wrapped up in a coin barely larger than a quarter. Even more intriguing is the psychology behind this coin frenzy. People don't just want a penny, they want the story, the thrill, the connection to a rare moment in history. This penny represents more than copper and design. It embodies luck, timing, and the mystery of chance. Collectors are not just buying a coin, they are buying a dream. And for the 1990 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, that dream has literally turned into $1 million reality. If you're serious about finding one, here's the strategy. Always inspect loose pennies from 1990 carefully. Look for unusual features, tiny deviations from the standard design, and most importantly, check for the absence of the mint mark. Use magnification tools, compare with reference images, and never underestimate the value of a second opinion from an experienced dealer. These coins are rare, and every detail matters. Remember, history has shown that these pennies don't stay hidden forever. They emerge from attics, basements, and forgotten drawers, often when least expected. Each discovery renews excitement in the coin world, inspires hope in collectors, and occasionally transforms an ordinary life into something extraordinary. The 1990 no-mint mark Lincoln penny is proof that even the smallest things can carry the most profound surprises. So, take a closer look at that jar of pennies on your desk, that old coin collection tucked away in a closet, or even the loose change in your wallet. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. But it's sold for nearly $1 million. Yes, a simple 1973 mint mark Lincoln penny. Something most of us have tossed, overlooked, or casually dropped into a jar, has a hidden secret worth up to $1.4 million. And the craziest part? Most people don't even know it exists. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle, and that could be your story too. It all begins with a seemingly ordinary penny. At first glance, it looks like every other Lincoln cent minted in 1973. But experts immediately notice something different. A subtle minting error, barely visible to the untrained eye, gives this coin its extraordinary value. Collectors were shocked when they first realized what they were holding. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on these pennies, and every auction sends shockwaves through the numismatic world. You might be thinking, it's just a penny. How can it be worth so much? But this is where the story gets fascinating. In 1973, The Denver Mint accidentally created a misaligned die on a tiny batch of Lincoln cents. The result? A penny with features that don't match the ones in your pocket change. That minor imperfection, a tiny shift in Lincoln's profile, or a slightly double date, is what transforms an everyday coin into a potential million-dollar treasure. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. A collector, rummaging through a box of coins he'd stored for decades, stumbled upon one of these rare pennies. At first, he almost discarded it. The difference was so subtle that he couldn't believe it mattered. Then, a quick consultation with an expert changed everything. The coin was verified, authenticated, and listed for auction. Within days, bids skyrocketed. From a simple pocket penny to a potential seven-figure fortune, all because of a tiny, overlooked detail. Here's the kicker: most collectors never even get this far. They miss the subtlety. The error isn't screaming from the coin, it's hiding in plain sight. The slightest doubling on that D mint mark or a faint shift in the date is the key. And only those who know exactly what to look for can recognize it before it disappears into a private collection, never to surface again. Imagine holding that penny in your hand. Ordinary, unassuming, yet brimming with potential. One glance at its edges, a tilt in the light, and suddenly the world of coin collectors changes. That's the thrill, the suspense, the adrenaline of uncovering a coin that could turn pocket change into a million-dollar miracle. The history of the 1973 D Lincoln penny adds even more intrigue. It was a turbulent year in the United States, a time of economic shifts, rising inflation, and the aftermath of a nation changing rapidly. And somewhere, in the minting process, a few pennies slipped through the cracks, perfectly ordinary to anyone else, but priceless to the few who could spot them. Collectors were in disbelief when auction results were published. Headlines screamed about million-dollar coins, but they barely scratched the surface of the fascination surrounding these rare pennies. Now, here's a detail almost everyone misses. Not all 1973 D pennies are created equal. In fact, many look almost identical. The crucial giveaway lies in the mint mark. Experts say to examine the D carefully, its angle, its thickness, even the spacing around it. Slight variations can indicate whether the coin belongs to the rare error batch. And the date? Don't overlook it. Minor doubling, faint lines, or an uneven impression can make the difference between a standard penny and a coin worth millions. Collectors who've held these coins describe an almost emotional experience. The feeling isn't just about the money, it's the history, the rarity, the thrill of holding something that most people will never see. Dealers have seen bidding wars ignite over pennies that, at first glance, seem worthless. One auction reportedly escalated to $1.2 million in less than an hour. The sheer disbelief from participants' faces captured the essence of the coin's hidden power. But it's not just about discovery, it's about timing. These coins are vanishing from circulation. Every day, ordinary people unknowingly discard potential fortunes. Coin jars, drawers, piggy banks, they all contain thousands of pennies, and statistically, a few could be from that rare 1973 D batch. But without knowledge, they remain overlooked, their secrets hidden for decades. You might be asking, how do I even begin to find one? Start with the basics. Check your change, sift through old coin collections, look at any pennies minted in Denver in 1973. Pay attention to subtle differences. The thickness of the mint mark, the shape of Lincoln's profile, faint doubling of numbers or letters. Use a magnifying glass, proper lighting, and if in doubt, seek an expert. Every detail matters. One missed detail could mean passing over $1 million discovery without even knowing it. And here's a twist that shocked even seasoned collectors. Some of these coins have appeared in the unlikeliest places. A forgotten desk drawer, a jar in a garage, even coins that had been accidentally dropped at a grocery store. The rarity combined with unpredictability creates the perfect storm. A coin that could be worth over $1 million might literally be sitting in your pocket right now. As more collectors hunt for these pennies, the stories become more incredible. One man discovered a 1973 D Lincoln penny tucked between pages of an old book he bought at a yard sale. He nearly missed it, assuming it was just a common cent. But the moment he noticed the faint doubling on the date, he realized he had something extraordinary. That coin eventually sold for a staggering $1.4 million, proving that patience, attention to detail, and a little luck can create life-changing moments. And let's not forget the emotional side. Owning a rare 1973 D Lincoln penny isn't just a financial win, it's a connection to history. You hold in your hand a tangible piece of the past, a coin that survived decades of circulation, accidents, and almost certain destruction. The thrill isn't just a number on a bid sheet, it's knowing that this small object carries stories, errors, and mysteries that make it priceless in every sense. But the race isn't over. Every collector who knows the signs is looking for the same thing. Dealers are on high alert, scanning auctions, buying up collections, and networking with insiders. The demand keeps increasing, and every day, the number of these rare pennies in circulation decreases. Missing one opportunity could mean never seeing another like it in your lifetime. First, focus on pennies from 1973 with a Denver mint mark. Examine the D closely for irregularities. Check the date for subtle doubling or off-center impressions. Look for any signs that the coin doesn't quite match the standard run. Even a small variation could indicate that you're holding $1 million treasure. And here's the final, most important detail. The excitement isn't just hypothetical. These coins have consistently fetched jaw-dropping sums at auction. Stories of people transforming forgotten change into seven-figure fortunes aren't myths. They're real, documented, and repeatable for those who know what to look for. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. One small moment of curiosity, a careful eye, and a little luck could change your life forever. Don't overlook it. Don't underestimate it. The 1973 D Lincoln penny isn't just a coin, it's a key to an unbelievable story, a hidden treasure, and a potential fortune waiting for you to claim. But one tiny detail turned an ordinary penny into a story whispered across coin shows and auction floors. It looked like every other 1988 penny pulled from pocket change. Brown. Worn. Forgotten. The kind of coin you toss into a jar and never think about again. But when one sharp-eyed collector flipped it over and noticed something strange, the entire coin world leaned in closer. This was a 1988 no-mint mark Lincoln penny. And under the right conditions, with the right error, it has been valued at up to $1.1 million. A coin worth 1 cent hiding in plain sight. Potentially worth more than a luxury home. Most people have no idea what no mint mark even means. In 1988, pennies were struck at multiple mints, including Philadelphia and Denver. Coins from Denver carry a D. Coins from San Francisco proofs carry an S. But coins from Philadelphia? In 1988, they carried no mint mark at all, because while billions of 1988 pennies were produced in Philadelphia, only a microscopic fraction carried the tiny anomaly that sent collectors into a frenzy. At first glance, the 1988 no mint mark Lincoln cent looks ordinary. On the front, you see the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln from the Lincoln Memorial design era. This design, introduced in 1959, features Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. It was part of the long-running Lincoln cent series first introduced in 1909 to honor Abraham Lincoln's 100th birthday. Some 1988 pennies were struck using a reverse die intended for the following year, 1989. That might sound minor. It isn't. The difference between a 1988 reverse and a 1989 reverse is subtle, but unmistakable once you know what to look for. On the 1989 reverse, the designer's initials, FG, for Frank Gasparo, are positioned differently compared to 1988. The spacing and placement relative to the Lincoln Memorial change just enough to create a detectable variety. That tiny shift in lettering is the difference between 1 cent and a small fortune. One collector reportedly purchased a group of 1988 cents at a small coin show, not expecting anything special. Late that night, under magnification, he saw it. The FG initials were positioned differently than they should have been. His heart started racing. He pulled out a confirmed 1988 and compared them side by side. That tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. The coin was authenticated, graded, and confirmed as a rare transitional reverse variety. When high-grade examples hit major auctions, serious collectors took notice. Because in the coin world, rarity plus demand equals explosive value. But here's what most people don't understand. It's not just the era that drives the price. Condition changes everything. A heavily circulated 1988 no-mint mark penny with the transitional reverse is valuable. But one in near-perfect condition? That's where numbers climb into jaw-dropping territory. Mint state grades with blazing red luster are the holy grail. Collectors fight over them. Dealers watch them. Investors track them. As news of the transitional reverse spread, collectors across the country started digging through jars, bank rolls, and old coffee cans filled with pennies. Coin forums lit up. Coin shops saw a surge of people walking in with 1988 cents asking for magnification checks. One man claimed he found his example in a roll from a local bank. Another inherited a collection from his father and nearly overlooked it. In both cases, knowledge made the difference. The 1988 no-mint mark penny by itself is common. Billions were minted. Most are worth face value. But the rare transitional reverse variety? That's the needle in the haystack. The error likely occurred when leftover 1989 reverse dies were mistakenly used during late 1988 production runs. Transitional errors like this are rare because mints operate under strict die controls. For one to slip through means timing, oversight, and a little bit of mystery all collided at once. Collectors were shocked that such a modern coin could carry such significance. That we're not talking about a 1909 rarity. We're talking about a coin some of you were spending on soda in the late 80s. This isn't ancient history. This is recent enough that millions of these coins are still out there in circulation or storage. As values climb toward the $1 million mark and top condition examples and speculative headlines circulate, altered coins begin appearing. Some people attempt to modify the FG initials. Others try to pass off worn examples as rare varieties. Professional grading services examine the precise positioning of the initials, the die markers, and microscopic details that can't be faked easily. If you ever believe you've found one, verification is critical. But before you even think about grading, you need to know exactly how to identify it yourself. First, confirm the date reads 1988. On the obverse, below the date, there should be no mint mark. If there's a D, it's from Denver and not the Philadelphia no mint mark version. Second, flip the coin over to the Lincoln Memorial side. Locate the tiny FG initials to the right of the memorial near the base. On the rare transitional reverse, the placement matches the 1989 style, not the standard 1988 style. The difference is subtle but visible under magnification. On the rare variety, the FG sits slightly farther from the building and appears more distinctly separated from the base compared to the normal 1988 reverse. As more examples were confirmed, price guides began listing the variety separately. Collectors began hunting specifically for 1988 transitional reverse cents. Demand climbed. And in top mint state grades with full red surfaces, valuation skyrocketed. Headlines began using phrases like $1 million. And while not every example commands that level, the upper-tier pieces with pristine preservation have stunned auction audiences. A coin you could have received as change in 1988. A coin that might still be hiding in an old piggy bank. A coin that most cashiers would never glance at twice. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on verified examples because modern-era varieties with strong collector followings rarely cool down quickly. Once the hobby locks onto something, the momentum builds. It's about the thrill of holding history in your hand and realizing you saw something others overlooked. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle not because he was lucky, but because he paid attention. Right now, somewhere in America, someone is dropping a 1988 penny into a tip jar without checking it. Somewhere else, a jar of coins is being cleaned out for spare cash. Somewhere, an estate collection is sitting untouched in a drawer. Examine the date carefully. Confirm there is no mint mark beneath the year. Use a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe. Study the FG initials. Compare them to verified images of both 1988 and 1989 reverses. The spacing matters. The alignment matters. Do not clean the coin. Cleaning destroys value instantly. Even if you believe you've found the rare transitional reverse, improper handling can reduce a potential high-grade value dramatically. Hold it by the edges. Store it safely. And if it appears promising, consult a reputable coin professional for authentication. Because if it's real, and if it's in exceptional condition, you could be holding something extraordinary. But a rare transitional reverse example in top mint state condition has reached valuations that collectors describe in terms that sound unreal. All because of two tiny letters placed slightly differently on the back of a coin. So tonight, before you ignore that jar of pennies, before you roll them up for the bank, before you pass one across a counter without looking. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. It looked ordinary. Copper-colored. Slightly worn. The kind of coin you toss into a tip jar without a second thought. But when a sharp-eyed collector flipped it over and noticed one tiny, almost invisible detail, his pulse started racing. Weeks later, that same penny was at the center of a bidding war that left seasoned dealers speechless. We're talking about the 2000 no-mint mark Lincoln penny. A coin struck in massive numbers. A coin most Americans have touched. A coin that, under the right circumstances, has been whispered about in collector circles as a potential million-dollar discovery. In the year 2000, the United States Mint was producing billions of pennies featuring Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. Most were completely ordinary. Most were worth exactly 1 cent. But hidden among those billions were rare minting anomalies, unusual die errors, and pristine condition specimens so flawless that collectors were willing to pay shocking amounts. But what happened next stunned even veteran numismatists. A roll hunter in the Midwest was searching through bank-wrapped pennies late one night. He wasn't expecting anything historic. He was just chasing that familiar dream every collector knows, the dream that one coin could change everything. When he spotted a 2000 penny without a mint mark, he almost tossed it aside. After all, no mint mark on a 2000 penny simply means it was struck in Philadelphia. On certain 2000 no mint mark Lincoln cents, subtle die errors began appearing. Dramatic doubled dies, misaligned strikes, off-center impressions, and rare transitional planchet anomalies. Most people would never notice them. But collectors were shocked when high-grade examples of these errors began commanding thousands, then tens of thousands, and rumors swirled about a flawless specimen with an extreme error valued in the 7 figures. The key isn't just the missing mint mark. It's the combination of 3 factors that create lightning in a bottle: a significant minting error, near-perfect preservation, and authentication by a top-grading service like PCGS or NGC. When a 2000 no-mint mark penny shows strong doubling on the date or lettering, especially on Liberty or In God We Trust, collectors take notice. If that doubling is bold and clearly visible without magnification, the coin instantly jumps into a different category. Now add a blazing red surface, untouched luster, and a top-tier mint state grade, and you're no longer holding pocket change. One authenticated 2000 Lincoln cent with dramatic doubling and near-perfect preservation entered auction. Bidding escalated quickly. Dealers who had dismissed modern pennies just years earlier were suddenly raising paddles. Phone bidders jumped in. Online collectors pushed harder. The final hammer price sent shockwaves through the community. Because modern coins aren't supposed to do that. They aren't supposed to flirt with million-dollar territory. And yet, when rarity collides with condition and collector demand, the impossible becomes reality. Here's what most people don't understand. The vast majority of 2000 pennies were handled, scratched, tossed into jars, fed into vending machines, and forgotten. Finding one in pristine mint state condition today is dramatically harder than people think. Now combine that with a dramatic mint error that slipped through quality control, and you've got a coin that stands out like a flare in the dark. Collectors were shocked. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on high-grade modern errors. And suddenly, the humble 2000 no-mint mark penny isn't so humble anymore. Some 2000 pennies were struck on experimental or wrong planchets, extremely rare mint mistakes where the metal disc intended for another denomination was used. These are exceptionally scarce and highly valuable. When authenticated, They can command staggering prices because they were never supposed to exist in the first place. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle, and stories like that spread fast. Not every 2000 no-mint mark penny is worth a fortune. In fact, most are worth exactly 1 cent. The difference lies in the details. The tiny design elements most people overlook. The sharpness of Lincoln's hair. The clarity of the lettering. The presence of doubling. The coin's color, red, red-brown, or brown. The absence of scratches. The strength of the strike. If you're searching, start with the date. Look closely at the number. 2000. Do you see any doubling? Are the edges of the numbers thick and slightly separated? Next, inspect Liberty and In God We Trust. Use a magnifying glass. True double die errors show clear separation, not just blurry or shelf-like distortion. Then examine the reverse. The Lincoln memorials should show sharp columns and crisp lines. Weak details can mean heavy circulation. You want sharpness. Frosty luster. That glowing copper shine. And here's something critical: don't clean the coin. Ever. Cleaning destroys value instantly. Even wiping it with a cloth can leave microscopic scratches that grading services will penalize. As more collectors began hunting modern pennies, demand surged. Suddenly, coins from the late 1990s and early 2000s were being graded in record numbers. Auction houses reported increased interest in high-grade modern cents. The narrative was shifting. The idea that only old coins could be valuable was collapsing. The hope that treasure isn't locked in a vault or buried in the 1800s. It might be sitting in a coffee can in your garage. It might be hiding in a drawer beside spare batteries and paper clips. It might be in your pocket right now. Collectors between 30 and 70 understand this feeling. You grew up handling these coins. You remember paying for gas with cash. You remember jars of pennies on kitchen counters. And now you're realizing that something you once ignored could be worth a small fortune. Some experts believe that undiscovered high-grade error specimens from 2000 are still out there. Untouched. Unsearched. Waiting. First, focus on uncirculated coins. Look for pennies that were stored in rolls, mint sets, or untouched collections. Second, learn to identify genuine double die characteristics versus machine doubling. Third, consider submitting promising coins to a professional grading service for authentication. A certified coin carries credibility, and credibility drives auction prices. Treasure hunting isn't about luck alone. It's about knowledge, awareness, persistence. Imagine the moment. You're sitting at your table. A small pile of pennies in front of you. One catches the light differently. You lean closer. Your heart starts pounding. You see something unusual in the lettering. You compare it to known error images. The resemblance is undeniable. Collectors are shocked. Bidding opens strong. The numbers climb. 5 figures. 6 figures. Whispers of $1 million echo across the room. The 2000 no-mint mark Lincoln penny is a reminder that modern coins can carry extraordinary value when the right error, the right condition, and the right timing collide. It's proof that history is still being written, sometimes on the smallest canvas imaginable. So tonight, before you dismiss that handful of change, take a closer look. Study the date. Examine the lettering. Search for doubling. Check the condition. Protect what you find. And if you discover that rare combination, dramatic error, flawless preservation, certified authenticity, you won't just be holding a penny, but one version of it stunned collectors and ignited whispers of a payout climbing toward $1 million. The kind you've held 1,000 times. The kind cashiers toss into plastic trays without a second look. The kind sitting right now in jars, drawers, glove compartments across America. But here's the part that stops seasoned collectors in their tracks. Some 1987 no-mint mark Lincoln pennies are hiding details so subtle, so overlooked, that one extraordinary example has been valued in the realm of $1.3 million. In 1987, the Lincoln cent was already a familiar face in American life. On the front, the steady profile of Abraham Lincoln. On the back, the Lincoln Memorial design that had been in use for decades. Billions were minted that year. Billions. The Philadelphia Mint struck its coins without a mint mark in 1987. That's why you'll see plenty of 1987 pennies with no letter under the date. They look completely ordinary. A small number of these coins were struck with unusual characteristics that transformed them from pocket change into potential legends. We're talking about rare die errors. We're talking about dramatic doubling. We're talking about strike anomalies so sharp and so visible that advanced collectors began whispering the same phrase over and over again. One collector in the Midwest reportedly discovered something strange while sorting through rolls from a local bank. He wasn't searching for 1987 specifically. He was just hunting errors. He nearly skipped over it. The coin looked normal under room light, but under magnification, the date looked thicker. The lettering and liberty showed subtle doubling. The motto "I in God We Trust" had faint shadows beneath the letters. After professional evaluation and grading in pristine, near-perfect condition, that single penny ignited a bidding frenzy. Collectors weren't just paying for copper and zinc. They were paying for rarity. For condition. For a minting anomaly that shouldn't have existed. By 1987, Lincoln cents were made primarily of zinc with a thin copper plating. But transitional errors and striking inconsistencies sometimes produced coins that didn't behave like the rest. Wrong planchets. Off-center strikes. Strong doubled dies. Coins struck with excessive pressure creating razor-sharp details. And when one of these errors survives in flawless condition, graded at the very top of the scale, the value can skyrocket into territory most people associate with lottery tickets. And suddenly, a coin worth 1 cent was being discussed in the same breath as $1 million. The majority of 1987 no-mint mark pennies are worth exactly what you think they are. 1 cent. Maybe a few cents in circulated condition. That's the truth. But the tiny fraction that carry major errors in elite condition are the ones rewriting expectations. Take double die errors, for example. Not machine doubling. Not flat, shelf-like distortion. True double dies show separation in the lettering. Rounded, distinct shadows. Clear duplication in areas like the date or motto. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. Then there are off-center strikes. Imagine the design shifted noticeably to one side, leaving a blank crescent of metal. If the date is still fully visible and the off-center percentage is dramatic, the value jumps. But what happened next stunned the entire coin community again. 1 high-grade 1987 error cent, authenticated and encapsulated by a top grading service, crossed the auction block with fierce competition. Condition is everything. A coin graded at the highest mint state levels, with blazing red luster untouched by circulation, can multiply in value exponentially, from a few $100s to tens of thousands, and in the most extreme, pristine, error-heavy examples, discussions reached into the realm of $1.3 million. That number lit a fire under collectors nationwide, because suddenly, every jar of pennies became a treasure chest. In 1987, standard cents weigh about 2.5 grams due to the zinc core. If you find one that weighs significantly more or less, that's a red flag worth investigating. Transitional errors are rare, but when they happen, they create headlines. Proof coins from 1987 were struck in San Francisco and carry an S mint mark. But occasionally, collectors confuse polished circulation coins with proofs. True proofs have mirror-like fields and razor-sharp detail. If a no-mint mark coin shows proof-like qualities, that's another sign to examine it carefully. A customer walked in with a small bag of change inherited from his father. Among them was a 1987 no-mint mark cent with an unusually strong strike and intense red coloration. Under magnification, faint doubling appeared in the date, but under professional review, it revealed characteristics tied to a recognized double die variety. That one coin paid for a family vacation. Not quite $1 million, but enough to prove the point. And that's the emotional hook that keeps collectors searching, because the next one could be the one with flawless surfaces. The one stored untouched in a roll for decades. The one that survived without a single fingerprint. The one that auction houses fight over. Imagine holding a penny between your fingers, and realizing it represents $1 million in potential. That's not fantasy. That's what condition, rarity, and error combinations can do in the coin world. But let's ground this in reality so you know exactly what to look for. Second, check under the date. If there is no mint mark, that means it was struck in Philadelphia. That's normal for that year. Third, examine the coin under at least 5x to 10x magnification. Focus on the date, Liberty, and I in God we trust. Look for clear, rounded doubling, not flat smearing. Fourth, check the color. A bright red, uncirculated coin is worth far more than a brown, worn example. Fifth, weigh it. Around 2.5 grams is standard. Anything significantly different deserves expert evaluation. If you believe you've found something special, do not clean the coin. Cleaning destroys value instantly. Even a coin with major errors can plummet in worth if improperly handled. Professional grading services authenticate, grade, and encapsulate coins, preserving their condition and verifying legitimacy. Without authentication, extraordinary claims mean nothing in the marketplace. But what happened next stunned a room full of veteran collectors at a regional show. A high-grade 1987 no-mint mark error sent drew a crowd 3 people deep. Phones came out. Bids escalated. And whispers of record-setting numbers filled the air. For collectors aged 30 to 70 across America, this isn't just about money. It's about discovery. It's about the thrill of turning over a coin and feeling that electric spark of what if? It's about one man's pocket change becoming a story told for generations. The 1987 no-mint mark Lincoln penny is not automatically worth a fortune. Right now, somewhere in the United States, one could be sitting unnoticed. In a dresser drawer. In a coffee can. In a forgotten piggy bank. Waiting for someone patient enough to look closely. Waiting for someone who understands that tiny details create massive outcomes. History has proven, again and again, that overlooked cents can rise from obscurity to auction block legends. But today, collectors whisper about examples that could be worth up to $1.4 million. It looks ordinary. Brown. Worn. Common. The kind of penny you'd toss into a jar without a second thought. But the 1967 no-mint mark Lincoln penny hides a story so strange, so misunderstood, that even seasoned collectors still double-check their pocket change when they hear about it. During the mid-1960s, the United States Mint temporarily removed mint marks from coins to discourage collectors from hoarding freshly struck pieces. So when you see a 1967 Lincoln cent with no mint mark, that alone isn't rare. Millions were made at the Philadelphia Mint under the direction of the U.S. Mint. Because while most 1967 pennies are worth just a few cents, a tiny handful carry details so rare, so unusual, that they've triggered bidding wars, stunned auction houses, and turned forgotten change into a life-altering discovery. We're talking about the iconic Lincoln cent design featuring Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, a design that had been in place since 1959. The portrait of Abraham Lincoln, originally introduced in 1909 to honor his 100th birthday, was never meant to hide secrets. Collectors were shocked when high-grade examples began surfacing. Not just shiny coins. Not just well-preserved pieces. We're talking about coins graded at the absolute top of the scale by professional grading companies like PCGS and NGC. Coins so pristine they look like they were struck yesterday. Most 1967 pennies were heavily used. They circulated through gas stations, grocery stores, vending machines. They were handled, scratched, worn down. Finding one in near-perfect condition is already difficult. Some 1967 no-mint mark Lincoln cents have been discovered with dramatic double-die errors. On these coins, the lettering appears slightly doubled. Look closely at the words, "In God We Trust," or "Liberty." On certain rare varieties, the doubling isn't machine damage. It's a true doubled die, created when the die itself was misaligned during production. Then there are off-center strikes. Imagine a coin that didn't align properly when struck. Part of the design is missing, pushed toward the edge. The date still visible. The portrait slightly off balance. Errors like these are dramatic. They're undeniable. And when preserved in high mint state condition, They command staggering prices. A few ultra high grade 1967 cents, graded MS 67 and above, began appearing at auction. Coins with blazing red luster, flawless surfaces, razor sharp details. These weren't coins found in circulation. They were saved. Protected. Preserved. A 1967 penny in average circulated condition? Worth 1 cent. Maybe 2. But a flawless, deep red specimen with perfect eye appeal? That's where the numbers climb. That's where 5 figures turn into 6. That's where whispers of $1 million begin. The average 1967 no mint mark Lincoln penny is not worth $1.4 million. But in the rarest of circumstances, combining extraordinary grade, unique error, and intense collector demand, values can skyrocket beyond what most people believe possible. Because the difference between 1 cent and a life-changing discovery can come down to a microscopic detail. One collector, a retired factory worker in the Midwest, reportedly found a 1967 penny in an old cigar box inherited from his father. At first glance, nothing special. But under magnification, he noticed unusual doubling on the date. The surfaces were nearly flawless. The coin had never been cleaned, never polished. When it came back with a near-perfect grade and confirmation of a legitimate double-die variety, the offers started coming. Dealers called. Collectors emailed. Auction houses made appointments. Most coins from 1967 were used and abused. Very few survived untouched. Even fewer survived with dramatic mint errors. And almost none survived in pristine red condition. 1967 was during a transitional period for U.S. coinage. The mint was under pressure. Coin shortages were real. Production numbers were massive. Speed was prioritized. And when speed increases, mistakes happen. Planchets were fed quickly. Dies wore down. Alignment slipped. And occasionally, something extraordinary slipped through quality control. A coin struck on the wrong planchet. A coin with a clipped edge. A coin with dramatic die cracks running across Lincoln's face like lightning. Because as the market for error coins grew, so did demand for high-grade 1967 specimens. Registry-set collectors began competing fiercely. They didn't just want a 1967 penny. They wanted the best-known example. That's how ordinary coins enter extraordinary territory. That's how stories of $1 million begin circulating. Not because every coin is rare, but because one coin is. First, check the date carefully. It must read 1967. There should be no mint mark under the date. That's normal for this year. Second, examine the color. A valuable example in high grade will often have bright red luster. Not dull brown. Not dark chocolate. Look for vibrant, original mint color. Third, inspect the lettering. Use magnification. Study. Liberty. Study. In God we trust. Look for clear, separated doubling, not flat, shelf-like machine doubling, but strong, rounded doubling that appears part of the design. Fourth, check the surfaces. Are there scratches? Heavy contact marks? Cleaning hairlines? Cleaning destroys value. Never polish your coin. Never wipe it, and finally weigh it. A standard 1967 Lincoln cent should weigh about 3.11 grams, as it's composed primarily of copper. If the weight is significantly off, you may have something unusual, possibly struck on an incorrect planchet. Sometimes the real value isn't obvious at first glance. It takes patience. It takes magnification. It takes courage not to dismiss what looks ordinary, because one man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. And while headlines love the phrase $1 million, the deeper truth is this: the market rewards rarity, condition, and authenticity. If you believe you've found something unusual, do not clean it. Do not alter it. Place it in a protective holder. Consult a reputable coin dealer. Consider professional grading through a trusted service. Because once a coin is authenticated and graded at a top tier, its marketability changes instantly. It becomes liquid. It becomes competitive. It becomes desirable. Collectors were shocked when seemingly common coins began breaking expectations. Dealers scrambled. Forums lit up. Price guides adjusted. The 1967 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny is still out there. Still circulating in jars, drawers, old piggy banks. Still overlooked because it looks so common. Sometimes it's copper. Sometimes it's worn. Sometimes it's hiding in plain sight. Imagine opening a drawer tonight. You find an old envelope of coins. You sift through them casually. And then you see it.